Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to introduce to you now. Michaël Bijker is a yoga, breathwork, pranayama, meditation, and Qigong teacher. Michaël is a best-selling creator of mindfulness courses with over 70,000 students worldwide. His courses are among the highest ranked on Udemy, and his teachings have transformed the lives of thousands of people around the world. Michaël has practiced mind training and meditation since the age of 14. Since then, he has been committed to helping others to learn these wonderful techniques, to provide health, focus, and strength, but also to help people realize who they truly are and what their true calling is. His teachings have helped many from all over the world, focusing on mind and body to help each person to get to know their real nature and essence and to free their minds. He now teaches yoga, meditation, breathwork, and mind training in Portugal and online at yogalap.com. That's yogalap.com. Michaël, what an honor it is to welcome you to Boundless Body Radio.
Wonderful, Casey. Thank you very much for having me on your show. Beautiful.
Absolutely. And you are calling in from Portugal, which is amazing. We were just talking offline about some of the differences between the language in Portuguese between Brazil and Portugal. I think that's really interesting.
It is, definitely. I think both are beautiful types of Portuguese, but I think in Brazil, it's very much more of a musical language, the Portuguese. In Portugal, it sounds a bit more formal, but both very beautiful ways of Portuguese.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, I just loved learning the language and love learning how to, change your voice and how you mentioned, like it's very much almost like singing more than it is talking with a lot of emotion and kind of up and down. I really love that part of the language. Really beautiful. Oh, well, I wanted to thank you personally. I found your work at a time in my life where I really feel like I needed it. I was in kind of a dark space, and I remember some of your teachings about gratitude and being grateful for the things that you have, and it really helped shift my mindset. So on a personal level, I just want to thank you for your work in your life and for putting that out there. It's made a personal difference in my life quite a bit.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great to hear that, Casey. I hope we can and I can inspire many more people to do the same.
Yeah, that's beautiful. We almost didn't have this conversation because you almost didn't make it past 18. Can you tell us about what happened when you were 18 years old?
Yeah, when I was 18 years old, I was traveling around in Australia, and I had a pretty bad car accident. It was a head-on collision with about 80 miles per hour with another car. And it was a pretty heavy accident, and I was in the hospital for quite a long time. I had my spine broken on 2 places. I had collapsed lung, broken ribs. My right arm was paralyzed. A lot of stuff happening, and many doctors said I was very lucky to be alive. They then said you probably will have to live your life with some ailments and malfunctions in the body with some handicaps, but thank God I came more and more in contact with the powerful techniques of yoga and Qigong and started doing them a lot. And thank God I'm all cured from everything now.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I've been in car accidents before, being hit at like 40 miles an hour, and just the sound of metal and glass, it's really shocking. Is that something that stuck with you? Was it something that you kind of blacked out of or lost memory of?
I don't remember anything from the car accident itself. I only remember something from an hour before. What I do have a little bit is in my hearing spectrum, in the frequencies, I have a bit of a dip somewhere at the frequencies around the 10,000 hertz. And they say it's probably because of that car crash. Like you say, the metal, the broken glass, everything. It was a very strong sound, and that probably left me with a bit of hearing damage, but nothing too much.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's funny, sometimes I'm in a field and my wife hears all the beautiful crickets, and then I'm like, I don't really hear them.
Wow, that's crazy. Did that car accident change your perspective on life?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. I became a lot more, let's say, conscious of how important it is to have a good functioning body and to be able to let's say just to walk and to breathe and to do all these things, because for some time I could not really do that. And it made me realize how wonderful it is to have a healthy body and to to be able to do all these things. And in another way, I also noticed when I was in the hospital, laying in bed there, and my body wasn't functioning, of course, 100%, and it was pretty broken. But I was feeling really grateful, very happy to be able to be still alive. And it made me realize, okay, it doesn't really matter too much the state of the body, but it matters about the state of the mind, which defines how you experience life. So when the mind is happy, the body can be broken. That's all right. But if you feel the connection, let's say with the life, with the great spirit, with God, with the source, then it doesn't really matter what happens to the body. You can keep your foundation, your happiness in life.
Wow. That's so beautifully said. We should really probably back up. You mentioned that you carried, some of these things with you into the car accident. We mentioned in the intro that at 14, some of this stuff was already on your radar. How does a teenager become mindful, especially at such a young age?
Well, I was raised in a pretty, not spiritual, but very religious family. And I always, we were praying before dinner and reading some of the Bible after dinner. And that happened every day. So I was growing up already really with the idea, well, there is something greater than myself out there, a God, and very much growing up in that sense. But I started thinking for myself a little bit, well, some things for me, they don't really make too much sense. God, if it's really something outside of yourself or on a cloud, and if you do something bad, you go to hell forever, that didn't really make much sense to me. So I started already since a young age very much thinking about, okay, what do I believe then? And I started reading about other religions as well. And then I found, all these different theories, there must be a deeper truth in there. And then I started to see, it is more about what you can really feel and experience. And it's not so much about what theory is right and what is written somewhere or what other people tell you what reality is, but it is very much about feeling it and experiencing it. So then I started doing more and more of these things, like meditation and being in nature and just observing nature. And then I felt like, okay, you can really experience life, creation, God, however one wants to call the creation. You can really feel it and experience it. And that's where the reality is, and not in the story about what you are experiencing, because that's different for everyone.
So meditation.
So then, so then I started realizing, okay, there is a great power, not so much in believing the stories that somebody else tells you about what reality is or about what God is, but there is a great power in learning to still your mind and to just experience it and feel it. And when the mind is really troubled or busy, or if you're worrying a lot about things that happened in your life or your future, then it's very hard to do that. But by certain techniques to still the mind, you can really start to get a clear vision on what life is, what reality is, what God is.
So it sounds like meditation was kind of the gateway to open this up for you. Was there any particular type of meditation that you were doing?
That's why I remember going a lot in, I used to live very near a natural reserve and going into nature a lot. And just, with a little boat, I would just pedal around with the boat and drive around with the boat. And just being there in nature, and then in that silence and also the busyness of nature with all the birds and the animals and the trees, I felt really like, okay, this is wonderful. And also I started just listening to certain types of music. It was especially electronic music, but then and meditative music, and closing my eyes. And remember on really going on voyages almost within and deep meditations. And this really helped me, to get more in connection with a deeper layer of myself, of reality. And doing that. And then later on, I started doing also more things like breath work and observing of the breath, those kind of things. But at first, the meditation just came naturally.
Hmm. What other things can nature teach us? I'm fortunate enough to live in the suburbs of a city, but we have a lake nearby, and every single day I get to at least take a little stroll around the lake and check things out. And it's been really interesting since the pandemic to kind of tune in a little bit more to nature. But I'm just curious, as far as your experience, what things did you learn from nature?
Well, it depends. There's so much to learn in nature, but it depends always on the state of mind and the state of your life that you're in yourself. A lot of people, if they're really busy, and they go to nature for a day, well, they enjoy it for the first half hour maybe, but maybe if they sit still for a little bit longer, the only thing they become aware of is the restlessness that they carry within them. So the stillness of the nature or the lake or what you experience there in nature just reflects for them the restlessness that they carry within, and they start to feel a bit, well, okay, it's nice, but I just want to go home now and finish my work, or have to do this, or I'd rather sit in front of the television, distract myself with some nice movies or something like that. So in that way, the nature can teach people to become still, to train their restless mind, or to purify the restless mind, to take a moment to become still. And for other people that are maybe already in a more quiet space in their mind, in a more calm state of mind, when they go into nature, they can really have the stillness and the peacefulness within to sit still and just observe nature as it's happening. And they see like, hey, it seems at first when you're sitting there, there's not much happening on the lake, for example, and you enjoy the view, but then you start to see like, hey, there is actually so much happening. There's little insects that are alive around you. There is underneath you maybe some ants crawling. There is some birds flying, and there's all this life around you. And you start to sometimes really feel like, wow, this planet, I am surrounded by life. And all these animals, all these insects, they all need to breathe, and they use oxygen like I'm doing myself as well now. And we're all part of the same system. And you can get these kinds of insights of that. You feel like, hey, there is really a unity in all this. We are all breathing the same air. We are all bound to decay, and a nice insect that is crawling there is dead in a couple of weeks, and then it becomes the earth again. But then another insect or a plant is using that earth to grow, and another insect is eating that plant. So you see like, wow, there is a whole cycle of life, what I'm part of as well. But you understand a little bit what I'm trying to say, Casey. So it depends on your own state of mind at what nature can teach you.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's really beautiful. One of the things I really noticed too is I can walk around the lake and I can, let my mind race, like you mentioned. I can worry. I can be anxious about things. And I sure don't notice the same thing with the ducks or, the other groups of birds around the lake or the plants. They don't seem to be hurrying at all. They don't seem to be stressing out at all. What is it about humans that make us just have those racing minds and worry about things we've done in the past or anxiety about the future? Why do we let our minds do that?
Well, because on the one hand, it's a gift, but on the other one hand, it's a curse, because we are conscious of ourselves. So we can have like an outer perspective on ourselves. So we can see ourselves in the past, or we can see ourselves or imagine ourselves in the future. And that makes us more, in a way, conscious of that we are alive, and that makes us have an ego. But an animal doesn't have that. It's just living. And if it's hungry, it eats something. If it's angry at some other bird, then it chases him away. But then 10 seconds later, he's completely forgotten about it and he carries on whatever he's doing. But we as human beings, we have this ability to get this whole conscious, that we become conscious, like, hey, I'm a human being. I am alive. I have a house. I have a this. So this whole sense of ego that animals don't have makes them also not worry about their future or their past, but humans do. But in a way, that is, like I mentioned, a great gift that human beings have, but also a great curse. Why it is a great gift is because we become can become only conscious of ourselves, but in a ego sense of way that I think like, okay, my name is Michaël, I have a certain car, or I have a family, I have a house, but we also become aware that we are in a way, a divine spark of creation. There is this consciousness of that there is this higher consciousness within us, this deeper consciousness. And that makes us able to become fully realized human beings, as some human beings have already experienced the state of enlightenment.
Oftentimes I think we get caught up in trying to be happy all the time. And we're almost like kind of taught to push down negative emotions. In what ways can we deal with things like sadness or anxiety in a way that's more productive without pushing those emotions aside?
Well, it's always interesting when we have certain thoughts, we can get very caught up with the thoughts. And one characteristic of the mind is that it always wants to solve something, or always want to create new solutions or problems. So as soon as we become aware of our own mind with this, let's say this higher state of our consciousness. So there is a certain thought happening, there's talking in your mind, but then you become aware like, hey, there is talking now in my head. There is this certain idea which is now in my head. So there's also somebody listening. There's a listener within. So when we become able to listen to our own thoughts in a way like, I can hear my own thoughts, or I can observe my own thoughts. So what is listening? That is a kind of deeper self or a higher self. So as soon as we start to worry, for example, we worry about that Tony last week didn't give back the 10 euros or the $10, and you start to worry, and that stupid Tony, and there he did it again, and the next time when I'm going to see him, and then you get caught up by a certain cycle of negative thinking, which can make you more angry or more sad. But as soon as you are able to observe that thought, like, hey, now that thought comes up, Tony didn't give me that money, it gives a certain negative emotion. That's a way now of thinking that is happening. I don't have to answer to that thought. I don't have to create a solution. I don't have to answer to that thought. I just observe it. So who or what is listening or observing that thought? And that is a deeper self or a higher self, which is beyond the thinking mind. So as soon as we become able to do that, we start to step out of that game, let's say, of mind and emotions, of trying to fix your emotions or trying to fix certain thoughts. And we become able to just observe it like, there is a certain negative thought. That's all right. That's life. It's a creation in this moment, a thought or a feeling of or emotion. It's all right. You just let it be there. You give it some space. So you don't try to fix your emotions, or don't try to, okay, I'm just going to pretend I'm happy. I'm just going to pretend I'm happy. Or you think like, okay, I'm going to stop thinking. I'm going to stop thinking, because that doesn't work. You try to create a solution with the same tools which created the problem in the first place. But you learn to just observe like, it's okay. I feel like that now. It's all right. And then you step out of that game, that cycle of the roller coaster of the mind and emotion, and you become able to transcend it in a way into peace and clarity. You follow a bit what I'm trying to say here, Casey?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can look around the room and I can see all kinds of different objects. And I know that I am not those objects. I am the observer of those objects. I'm not them. And in that same way, if we can take that seat of consciousness and observe, it seems like we can allow the thoughts and emotions to come and then go, and realize that more thoughts and emotions are also going to come and go, but we can be calm knowing that we're not those things. Is that a good way to say it?
Absolutely. Yes. In a way, emotions and thoughts, they are a constantly changing process in our life. The mind, the brain, it's constantly firing neurons together. There is a constant flow of thoughts and emotions, and in a way, it's like a flow of energy. So every time a neuron fires together, there is electric energy firing together, which can what sometimes a thought can produce. There's a certain thought, neurons firing together, so there is a flow of energy. So in a way, there is a constant flow of energy in our brain, in our heart, in our emotional system, in our mind. When we learn to observe that flow of energy, like, there is now a thought. That's now a little flow of energy in my brain. That's all right. You don't have to change it, to influence it. You just observe it. So in a way, it's like you are stepping out of a roller coaster ride or a wild river that you can sometimes be in. You step out of the boat and you just observe the river as it is flowing, but from a state of peace and a state of calm. And this can greatly help to stop having that feeling of inner conflict, that you feel a certain way, but you want to feel a different way. You have a certain thought, but you want your mind to be still and calm, and you want to change it, because that creates a duality within, that creates a conflict within, which in essence is suffering.
You've already mentioned breath work. I'm curious to know why the breath is so important in this process, and what kinds of breath work you found to be the most helpful.
So the breathing is very linked to our emotions and our mind. If we feel very upset or if we feel very happy, our breathing changes, right? If you feel very upset, then you start to cry, then your breathing pattern is very different. But even if you start to be stressed out, your breathing becomes much more shallow and high up in your lungs. Now, when you are calm and relaxed, your breathing is more slow and more deep as well. Now, this works in one way, that an emotion or your state of mind determines the way that you breathe, but it also works the opposite way. Because if you breathe in a certain way, you can calm your mind or you can calm your emotional state. So by doing certain calm breathing practices, for example, if you feel a bit upset or stressed, it can greatly help to bring your mind and your emotional system into a calm state. And with certain strong breathing techniques, it can really help you to start to, let's say, unblock any blocked emotions that can be there, or it can help you to feel that you unstuck a bit the mind, or you start to release certain blockages from the mind and emotion. So there's many different types of breathing techniques, strong ones and slow ones, but they are like tools with which you can start to purify, harmonize, and energize your mind and emotional system. So therefore, breathwork is I think, the most powerful tool to do inner work, to work on your mind and emotional system.
Mm. And you also do a lot of work with the body and incorporating the mind and body together. When did you start to do that? When did yoga and Qigong become important practices for you?
When I was about 16 or 15, I started, a friend of mine taught me some beautiful sun salutations from yoga. When we went to surfing together, I started doing that more and more. And then I got also in contact with Qigong on a bit later age, when I was about 19 years old or 18 years old. And I started doing a lot of Qigong as well. And because I had that car accident also, I felt it really helped me to make my body strong and flexible and healthy again, because there were a lot of blockages in my system. And then, I started traveling to India several times, learning from some great teachers there. And it's like a journey that goes deeper and deeper, and you start to learn more and more how to work with movements and breathing techniques to make your body and mind and emotional system open and healthy and strong.
It's really so interesting that you can travel all over the world and learn different techniques, but all seem to come back to kind of the same thing. How were you able to integrate so many different techniques from all over the world?
In essence, they all have the same goal. At least for me, you can say that yoga are many techniques of breathing, movement, and meditation to purify all the systems of mind and body, and to become able to go into a deep state of meditation to realize that true self, that deeper self, that divine source that we all have. But in a way, Qigong is the same thing. It's movements, much slower movements and meditative movements, but also breathing and meditation, also to purify mind and body, but also to become aware of this deeper reality that we have within, to go into a state of enlightenment, so to say. So they have different forms and different ways, but they both aim for the same goal.
What about people who maybe don't have access to nature as much as other people? Maybe they live in a city, or, there may be people who say like, yeah, this is all really great, but I still have to go pay the bills and I still need to do the laundry and the dishes every single day. How can people, manifest the physical things that they need in their life and also connect with mind body in a way that's meaningful for them?
Yeah, it is prioritizing a bit of your lifetime for this, and finding enjoyment in this, right? I mean, a lot of people, they say they don't have time to do things, but then if you would see how much time they spend on looking at their phone, maybe watching social media or watching YouTube movies or doing this or that, which is not very productive. And if instead of that, they would take like half an hour a day to just do these practices, that would really greatly help. In a lot of ways, the choices that we make and the opportunities that we see in life, they depend greatly on our state of mind and body. It's what we think about ourselves, what we believe life is, what we believe we deserve. So as soon as we start to take a little moment every day, of maybe like half an hour a day, or even half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening, and we start to connect with that power within, we start to purify a bit our mind from the beliefs we have about ourselves, the beliefs we have about how hard or how nice life is. And we start to make different choices in our life. We start to see more opportunities. We start to use our life energy in a whole different way, and therefore create a different life for ourselves.
And I think in that way, most of us have it backwards, right? Like I would be tempted to think like, okay, when I have all my financial, goals that I'm trying to achieve. Once I get there, then I can have the time to be mindful and, meditate and do mind body work. In reality, that's backwards to what you're saying. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And that is a great trap that a lot of people are caught up in, thinking that if I'm going to have this or if I'm going to have that, then my life is going to be complete and then I'm going to feel happy. But the truth is that in most cases, almost all cases, as soon as you have realized certain goals that you have set for yourself, okay, if I'm going to have that, then I'm going to be happy. As soon as they are real, then your mind makes up a new thing again, because you started to make choices, you started to do things out of a state of emptiness. Your mind, your emotional system, you felt a certain emptiness or discontentment, and you wanted to fill it up with certain things in your life or a different relationship or a certain status that you want. But as soon as you have that relationship or have that status, you still bring in that same emptiness in the mind and emptiness in the heart. So you start to think again, like, no, actually, now I have this nice car or whatever it is that you set your goal on. But actually, I want to have something else, or I want to have something bigger, or I want to have somebody else in my life to have a relationship with. So it starts with finding that there is already completeness within, in the moment, in whatever state of life you are in at that moment, whatever state of mind, whatever situation, that you start to become able to embrace that completely and see like, okay, this is the state of life that I am in now, and this is exactly where I need to be right now in my life, and feeling that okayness with it. And when you start to feel fulfillment in the present moment and feel completeness within the present moment, you start to make choices that reflect that state of completeness. You start to attract things in your life that reflect that state of completeness. So magic starts to happen in your life, basically, if you start to feel peace and contentment in the moment in your life where you are in at that time. And like I said, things start to happen for you. It's a very beautiful process that I've seen happening a lot in people.
This is probably a really good time to mention gratitude. Can you talk about the power of gratitude and what that can do for us?
So yeah, gratitude is the wonderful, wonderful thing to bless your own life with, basically. When you are able to feel gratitude for something, you are basically embracing it completely. You are saying, okay, I want this in my life. I accept completely as it has come in my life. And what starts to happen then is that your relationship with the life starts to become more of a sense of unity, that you feel like, okay, I want life to happen. It's all right how life happens. And this creates such a different experience of your life. I've seen a lot of people who are very good at complaining at everything in their life. And they constantly feel like, okay, this is not yet good in my life, and that's not yet good in my life. And they focus so much on what is not yet good in my life. And it just is a constant perpetuation, how would you say that, of negative relationship that one has with life. Whereas if one starts to become able to feel gratitude for small things, that they have a plate of food in front of them every day, that they have a roof over their head, that they can breathe, or whatever it is, this creates that sense of, okay, I feel that life is okay as it is right now. I feel this joy in life. And the more you feed that, the stronger this feeling becomes, and the more you start to feel unity within. And what is even more powerful is I've seen it happen a lot when people start to become more and more able to feel gratitude for the small things in their life, and also then the big things in their life. They develop the ability to feel gratitude for everything, even the negative things that happen in their life. So, you know how sometimes you can look at something that happened in your past, and if you're not feeling so happy, you think like, because that thing happened in my past, now I'm feeling this sadness or this anger, or now I'm feeling this incompleteness. I wish it never happened. It's stupid. And you start to feel resentment or guilt or shame or anger, whatever it is. If you start to become able to feel okay or thankful in this present moment for little things, like I mentioned, for being able to breathe, for having some food, whatever it is. And you start to also become able then to be happy with your past, because you think, okay, I'm feeling happy now, I'm feeling grateful now. So that means that everything that happened in the past led up to this moment. So you start to become able to feel grateful, thankful for everything that happened in your life, whether it was something terrible that happened, that you feel like, okay, it made me a stronger person, or okay, it made me a more wise person, or more compassionate person, or more resilient person, whatever it is. So your whole view on your past becomes that every so-called negative thing that happened just made you stronger, and you are happy that it happened. So the way that you see your past depends greatly on the state of mind and the state of emotion that you have in the present moment, right? So therefore, by doing certain gratitude techniques for things in the present moment, you start to develop the ability to feel grateful and happy in the moment, and also see your past in a whole different way. You follow with what I'm saying?
Yeah, Michaël, it was so very well explained. I love the idea of looking at things in your past that maybe you thought were negative at the time or caused you a lot of pain and suffering, but realize that that's part of your journey and part of what made you strong. That was so well explained. I love that. When in your life did you decide that you were going to take some of these things that you were learning and that you were going to share them with others?
Well, to be honest, I always felt a little bit that I had something to let's say to share with other people. I always felt like, okay, because from quite a young age, I always was very occupied or busy with all these things of spirituality and mind and emotion and meditation. And I always saw a lot of people around me that were not really very happy, or they were always very much chasing after a career, or being busy with life and missing out on all the beautiful things that there were in life. And I always felt like, okay, I wish there was a way to help people to also see that there are so much beautiful things in their lives already, that there's so much things to be grateful for. And at first, I didn't really know how to do this, and I was myself, I'm very grateful for that, thank God, a very happy happy chap most of my life. But then I saw, like, okay, through these techniques that I did with meditation and Qigong and yoga, these are ways to these are tools to give people to work on themselves, that they also become able to see life with a bit of a different perspective. So, like I mentioned, I always felt I wanted to give something to others, to this world. But then I found that, okay, these are great tools to do that with the meditation, the breath work, the yoga and Qigong.
How has that practice evolved over time? I mean, I'm sure you were doing a lot of live workshops prior to the pandemic. Has much changed in the way that you share your message with people?
So during the pandemic, it became a lot more online, and I was normally doing a lot of retreats as well here in Portugal. But those retreats, a lot of them got canceled. Obviously, I stopped teaching in real life for some time, because the place where I was doing it was closed down for some time. But in a way, it really helped to go into a bigger audience, because if you do a retreat with maybe 15, sometimes 20 people or something like that, that's it. That's those 15 or 20 people that you're teaching it to. But with the online things, you can reach thousands of people with the same class. So that really helped to spread it out more. But to be honest, I look forward again to teaching in real life again, and doing sessions with big groups of people in real life, because they are very powerful as well.
Well, you mentioned earlier you've seen this transform so many people's lives, and you've done this for quite a while now and reached so many people. I'm wondering, just on the top of your head, maybe it's a major story or a more minor one. It could be something more recent. Do you have any specific stories of things where you've seen people transform?
Yeah, for sure. I've seen a lot of people that they came, for example, to retreats, and they, in a way, they lived a life in which they had everything they needed to be happy. They had a good job and a good this and a good that, but they still didn't really feel very content or happy or joyful, because they lived up to all the expectations that, let's say, society or the parents had of them, but they still didn't feel this completeness with life. And then through processes of doing breathing techniques with them, but also mind training techniques and connecting with that source, they start to feel like, hey, actually, I want to do something completely different with my life. Or I always felt my heart's calling was to do something else. For example, working in things in which you can really help other people, instead of working in a certain business which is just about selling things or trying to make money or something like that. And some of those people really changed their career completely, or they stopped their work altogether, and they started traveling or becoming doing things in their life in which they were really adding value to this planet or other people's lives. And also, of course, that you see a lot in breathing sessions already, people having certain breakthroughs in the breathing sessions of certain emotions that they felt were always stuck somewhere in their subconscious, and they come out and they feel they are free of that now, or certain traumatic experiences or shame or guilt or anger, all these kinds of things, unprocessed emotions that they start to feel they give a place again. So yeah, a lot of beautiful things have happened absolutely in all these sessions.
So tell us a little bit more about the platform itself, Yoga Lab. Can you tell us what that stands for, and how that idea came about and what things you offer there?
So it is a platform which basically gives all the tools to people to start to work on their mind and emotions, and to do certain movement techniques to make the body more strong and healthy, all these things. And what I wanted to do is to create a website or a platform in which there are all these tools, the meditation, the movement, the mind training, but also music that people can just put their headphones on, lay on the couch, and let the music do the work with binaural beats and all these kind of things. And it started off with that, but that became more of a bit of a community as well through social media with Facebook, in which people could really more join in that way. Also group sessions that I do live every week, and they are for free. They are on YouTube. Anybody can join if they want. And doing those group sessions are really also fantastic to do. So it became a bit of a community, the Life Awareness Project, the lab in Yoga Lab. And the idea is hopefully to start spreading more and more this knowledge, that it becomes a normality for people to take care of their mind and body. A bit just like brushing their teeth. You do that every day to take care of your mouth hygiene, to take care of your teeth. But it seems still not really a normality to take care of your mind every day, to take care of your emotional system every day. And hopefully by this platform, and there's many other wonderful techniques out there, of course, as well, but that it becomes really an easy tool for people to start taking care of their mind and body every day. And it is my belief that that in a couple of years, more and more people start to integrate these practices in their lives, and they will start to live their life in a whole different way and make different choices. And in a way, I think a lot of the world problems, whether it's how we treat nature in such a bad way, the deforestation, the climate change, the wars, it all comes from the wrong choices that we make as a humanity. And why do we make wrong choices? Because the mind, the emotional system, is very much unpure. It's very much blocked. We carry a lot of tension there, and we try to look for solutions outside of ourselves, but it has to start from within. If every human being starts to clear out their mind and emotion system, start to make different choices, start to live healthy and happy and with compassion for others and the world, then we can make together a whole different planet.
That's so well said. I couldn't agree more. I think we could use a lot more of this kind of thing in our daily lives, and it starts with us on the individual level. I love the idea of soul hygiene. You're just doing a little something every single day, just like brushing your teeth, like you mentioned. I think that's a great way to look at it. What might people be surprised with when they go to Yoga Lab and see some of the courses? You have such a variety of different courses. I mean, I saw one on sleep that I thought looked really interesting. What other topics do you cover on the site?
So it's one about sleep, because sleep it's a big problem nowadays. Everybody is living very much in either a hurry or very much disconnected with themselves and more connected with the internet, and that creates all sorts of problems, especially sleeping. But also training of, like I mentioned before, of gratitude training, and how to in everyday life make a bit of different choices and also different perspectives on how you treat your own emotions and your mind. And this is called the 40 Days of Transformation course. It's also a wonderful course to do. And there is also the course of meditation and breathwork and pranayama and Qigong, all these tools to take care of mind and body. And like I mentioned, it is my mission to share this knowledge with as much people as possible, and therefore people can choose what they pay, from 10 euros, or it's about $14, up to whatever they want to pay. And a lot of these courses normally they would go for they could go for $100 or $200 or something. But it is the idea that by just sharing this knowledge to as many people as possible, there will start to happen a ripple effect, and more people start to take care more of their mind and body. And giving is basically also giving yourself, because if you give, it makes your soul happy. So that's why I try to share this knowledge with as much people as possible.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask you about that, why you made the courses so affordable and accessible. That's really amazing and generous of you. You also mentioned pranayama, and I'm so glad you did, because I was meaning to ask you. I really don't know much about pranayama. Can you describe what that is?
So pranayama is the techniques of breathing techniques in the Raja Yoga practice, and they are the breathing techniques to purify your nervous system, because we can have a lot of blockages and disbalances in our nervous system, in our emotional system, and the mind. And like I mentioned before in our talk, that through breathing you can really influence your state of mind and your state of heart. And through certain breathing techniques, you can purify your whole energy system. And as I mentioned, energy system, every thought that you have, every emotion, every neuron that's firing together, the whole nervous system, there's a flow of energy. And on a more subtle level, there's different forms of energy, not just electric energy, but also prana or life energy. This is prana. And through certain controlled breathing techniques, which is yama, it's to control, you can start to influence, purify, and harmonize these energetic systems. So there are pranayama or breathwork techniques which are more strong and forceful, but there are also very important breathing techniques, pranayama techniques, which are very, very slow and calm to bring you into a deep state of meditation. And basically, the pranayama, so in yoga practice, you have asanas, which are the postures, which are very popular nowadays in the West because it's physical. We're very focused on the physical in the West, and it makes you strong and healthy. But a great part of the whole yoga practice is also pranayama, the breathing practices, and then also dharana and dhyana, which is concentration practices and meditation practices to get into a state of self-realization or meditation, which is called samadhi.
Well, thank you so much for explaining that. You mentioned being excited to get back to live classes and teacher trainings and things like that. Do you have anything else that you're working on for the future?
I will have retreats going on again in Portugal. They will start in April again. We're not sure yet exactly which date in April, but if people want to stay up to date, make sure that you check out the website, maybe subscribe to the newsletter, or you can follow the Instagram account, and then there soon dates will be up there as well. But they will be like week-long mind and body training sessions in a very beautiful place here in south of Portugal, with going in for nature walks. You can go for surfs if you want. You can just spend a day in the spa if you want. It's a very beautiful week.
We will definitely be looking forward to that. It is very snowy where I am, so going for a surf right now sounds absolutely wonderful. Michaël, this conversation has been absolutely amazing. I've definitely learned a lot from you and taken away from your spirit. I would want to know, if you wanted to leave the listener with one simple tip from this conversation, what would that be?
Integrate a little calm breathing practice into your life by every now and again, just take 3 calm, deep breaths. Whatever you're doing, whether you feel stressed out or whether you feel happy, whether you're sitting in the car or are behind the computer, every now and again, just take 3 calm breaths to connect again with your foundation. And the more you do that, the more you feel really more grounded in your life instead of feeling very unstable mentally and emotionally. So just do that. 3 breaths every now and again, like, okay, where am I now? How do I feel? It's all good. Now I continue.
That's wonderful advice. We were fortunate enough to interview Andrew Jordan Lance, who writes children's books, and he wrote the book called Puppy Mind, which is all about a boy and his puppy mind, which runs all over the place, and he has a tough time training it and controlling it. And the way that he can bring himself back and train his puppy mind is to take 3 mindful breaths. And it's such a beautiful message for children. Isn't that amazing for a children's book? The first question I asked him is like, where was this when I was growing up? This is amazing. So that's wonderful.
Beautiful. That sounds wonderful.
It is. It really is. It's wonderful advice for children. It's wonderful advice for older children as well. Michaël Bijker, we are so grateful for you and your work. Can you tell us one more time where the best place is to find you and connect with you and your work?
So the website is called yogalab.com with a P. So yogalap.com. And there's also the app on iOS and Android, the Yoga Lab app. And otherwise on Instagram or Facebook on Michaël Bijker, Michaël Bijker, you can find me. And it would be really, really great if you become part, everybody that's listening, of this wonderful ripple effect of taking care of mind and body. It would be awesome.
Love that. We will link to all of that in the show notes. Michaël, thank you so very much for your life and your work and for being willing to share your message in such a way that's really accessible, it's really affordable. And you're right. I think if enough people can get on board with this and start to see positive effect, we will create quite a ripple in the world and hopefully make this a better place. So thank you so very much for everything that you do. And thank you so much for appearing on our show today. We really are honored to have you.
Wonderful. Peace, love, and blessings, everyone. Have a good life.
Thank you very much. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.